to hit the record button as well. And let's take a look at the PowerPoints.
Anytime we come in, they get started, right?
Now let me do a share. And let's see, I'm hoping which one is actually going to share. All right, we've got the PowerPoint on the screen up here. How about the other locations?
No.
All right, so let's try this one. Got something?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, so again, the chapter is titled Responsibility, Authority, and Delegation. Oh, that didn't go through, did it? Go forward. So, put that here. Yeah, no, we lost it. Hold on. Try again and get the right one. It's got lost altogether. I know you guys have got it, but let's see if we can't get the others here. So I want the one that's got the black version. All right, you guys got it now?
Yes.
All right. And I hope it's moving forward for you. Looks like it. All right, so we're going to look at responsibility and how that can relate to your job description. Everybody that goes to work for a company should have a job description written out about what they are responsible for. Then we will look on how to divide job activities and delegate to those individuals. A little bit of clarification on how managers have those job activities delegated. Then authority and some specifics about delegation, and end up the chapter with a look at centralization and decentralization, which is something that we see come and go in phases in a lot of companies. So we'll finish up with that. I like this first word here, responsibility. Responsibility is an obligation. You are obligated. Your responsibility to perform assigned activities. So that responsibility lies within you as an individual. But as I said before, managers remain responsible not only for what they do, but for what the people they have delegated to will do as well. So as a manager, it's a big job. Okay, you've taken on not only what you're doing, but what other employees are doing as well. Now, a job description is a summary of your job activities. Please don't ever go into a job without first reading your job description to see exactly what you are going to be required to do. If they don't have a job description written up for you, I'd say be leery about going to work for a company like that, because all of a sudden they'll tell you you're responsible for doing something and you had no idea you were supposed to be doing it. but that job description is going to tell you what is contained in the job and what they expect of you. So read that job description. All right. The most simple method of dividing up job activities is called the functional similarity method. Now think about that title. Functional similarity. That means you're going to group the job activities that are similar together, doing the same types of functions. All right? Of course, you want to tie those into your entire set of objectives. And then you want to designate what needs to be done and group specific jobs by similarity and make specific individuals responsible for doing those jobs. Okay, so if you're more into seeing that in little flowchart type things, a sequence of activities, again, that's the same 4 steps that were just done. They're just showing that one flows from the other. All right. Management should avoid just creating jobs that really don't enhance the goal of the company, okay? You may have worked somewhere where you've seen somebody doing a job that you just didn't even see how that could possibly help the company. So avoid just making work for somebody, okay? You want to always tie in with the actual goals of the company. When you assign responsibilities, you want to make sure you are clear, that the person you're assigned to can see how they are related to the goals, and that they don't overlap with someone else's responsibilities. A management responsibility guide will help management describe the relationships in the organization, and managers are deemed to be responsible when they actually do the activities that they are obligated to perform. Okay, so are you a responsible manager? All they're asking that is, are you doing what we asked you to do, the things that you are obligated to do? And of course, you can have many different types of responsibility relationships with those that you work with. A general responsibility just says that the individual who guides and directs the execution of the function just accepts the overall responsibility for it. Operating responsibility is the one who's actually executing it, the responsibility to actually show the application of the responsibility. A specific or a certain portion of a function is a specific responsibility. Some are people who must be consulted before a decision is made. Okay, so making a decision has to go through someone first that must be consulted, as opposed to the next one, which is may be consulted. Okay, an individual who may be called on to give advice or make recommendations. Must be notified, that's the person who has to be told about the action that's taking place, not necessarily be involved in the decision making, but they have to be told about it. And then must approve, that's the individual who either approves or disapproves the decision before you can go forward with it. So you'll have many of these. You'll have more than one of these at all times. You may have a project going on that you're responsible for, that you have general responsibility for. You might actually be the one who's executing it, but you may have others that you either must or may consult or notify, and others who must approve it before you can go forward with it. All right, so this looks at different dimensions of responsible management behavior with your subordinates, that's the people who work for you, with upper management, with other groups, and your own personal attitudes and values. Okay, so here we are starting to see that management is much more than just doing a specific task. Okay, you're going to be interacting with numbers of people as a manager, and you can see that with your employees, the people you work for, a responsible manager is going to take charge of those groups. They're going to praise and give credit to people who are doing the job. They're going to stay close to the problems and activities. They're going to take whatever action is necessary to maintain productivity. And they may have to terminate poor performers if necessary. I've worked in companies that did a very good job on the side of giving negative types of feedback, but didn't do well on the praise side. And that did not give a lot of incentive to keep going sometimes with the company. All right, so that's for the people who are working for you. Now, what about the people who are above you, your upper management? You're going to get criticism from them, okay? So you need to accept that if you make mistakes, okay? But you need to buffer the people who are working with you or under you from excessive criticism, okay? Your boss may tell you something at one time that may criticize your entire work group. You need to be able to filter out what you are going to actually convey to your subordinates. You also need to ensure that all of your work groups meet whatever your upper management is expecting to do and what their objectives are. With other groups, responsible managers make sure that any gaps between their areas and those of other managers are securely filled. We talked about Tuesday organization charts that showed different groupings of we looked at them by function and we looked at them by geography and all kinds of things, but you need to make sure that there aren't any gaps taking place, that there's actually somebody who is covering a particular area. I'll give you an example. Here in academics, we had groups that were responsible for dealing with students who came right out of high school. And we had another group that was responsible for dealing with adult learners who were, either they've been displaced by their jobs or they're coming back and changing careers and that kind of thing. We found that there was a gap out there that we actually needed another group for veteran students, okay? That was something that was not being fulfilled by any of the other jobs' responsibilities. So you don't want those things to slip through the crack. All right, you need as a manager to also be able to identify with your group, okay? You need to put the organization's goals ahead of your personal goals. Do the tasks that don't give you immediate reward, okay, but they do help either your people who are working for you or the company as a whole. And you need to conserve corporate resources as if they were your own, okay? And that doesn't mean go overboard, all right? You as a manager, you don't need to be watching all of your subordinates to see how many paper clips they're each using. That would be a little absurd. But on the other hand, you want to have measures where your employees don't abuse the office supplies and take them home every night with them to use for their personal ability. All right, so that's responsibility. You got to take responsibility for yourself and the people who work for you, as well as coordinating with your upper management to make sure the objectives are being completed. Now, your authority is your right to perform or command. Okay, if you have authority, that gives you an increasing probability that your commands will be obeyed. But that does not always mean that obedience will take place. But do you have the right to? Okay, we got 3 different types of authority listed here. Line authority, that's probably what you thought of first, and that is just the superior subordinate relationship. That's the relationship between you as a manager and the people who are working for you. Staff authority is where you have others who possess line authority, but you advise or assist with them. Okay, and then functional authority is where you have authority over a particular segment that does not normally have authority. So we do see the typical organization chart displaying the line staff relationships that we have. And that's more of the functional one that we've looked at before, but the line authority is the purple, and that's hard to see up here, but it's in your textbook, whereas the staff authority is the blue. This is a separate type of organization chart. This for a hospital, okay, which we have a lot of people that go into nursing programs and hospital administration and that kind of thing here, and they operate a little bit differently sometimes. So you see the 3 types of authority: line, staff, and functional authority taking place there. Can you all tell if it's recording? Because I don't see the recording button up here.
Yes, it is.
Does it say recording?
It does here, yes.
It does?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I was afraid when I was flipping in and out that I had turned it off by mistake. All right. Accountability is your liability to perform. If you don't perform, it results in punishment. And of course, that doesn't mean somebody's going to go slash you with, a whip or anything like that. What they're talking about is, a decrease in pay or actually losing your job, that sort of stuff. If you do your job, it should result in some kind of reward. So that's accountability. All right. So just briefly about delegation, and then we're going to flip over and look at the movie, the little short video there. Delegation is when you assign job activities and the authority to go along with them to certain individuals. Okay, notice that it's not just telling them to do something, it's also giving them the authority to do it. Okay, it creates an obligation on their part to get it done. They feel responsible for it. Okay, so I'm going to stop this share and go to our video that's on your Blackboard, and let's see if I can get that up and rolling for you. Again. This is called The Art of Delegation. Again, it's a very, not sharing with y'all, is it? Let me get the PowerPoint off. I think that's what throws it off. Have we lost Christiana, or are y'all still there?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just not showing up on my screen. Ah, good. Okay. Short little video, 2 minutes and 46 seconds, so under 3 minutes, but there's a lot packed into it. This is a video about a worker who's attempting to get a job done, but he doesn't like to delegate. Okay, and I picked this one because so many of you have said that that would not be a favorite part of your job as a manager. You would not like to delegate. You would rather get the job done yourself. So maybe you will see a little bit of yourself in this video. But let's see where things might go wrong. And I do expect you to talk when this thing is over with. Okay, if I have to come around and pull your tongues out, I want you to talk to me. And there's no right and wrong answers about anything, but let's take a look at what's going on here.
Hey, John. Are you finished with that project analysis report? I found my Jeremy's desk. He said you're still working on it.
Finishing it right now. It would have taken too long to get Jeremy up to speed on this project, so decided to do it myself. I should have it ready for you in about the next hour.
Dang. We just need it by close of business so we can review it before the client meeting and tomorrow.
No, we'll be ready. Don't worry.
Hey, John. Mr. Fujiyama's on the line for the third time today. He said he really needs to talk to you. Can I forward him to Marie? She is the lead on this project.
No, Teresa, I really need to handle Mr. Fujiyama myself. Very important one. Tell him I'll call him back in 1 hour.
Okay.
Hey, John, you ready to go to lunch?
I don't have time for lunch today. I'm too busy. I know we're going to discuss the meeting with the IBT group.
It's okay. I already put talking points here. You want to see them?
No. Actually, I think you should use mine. I wrote these down in the Starbucks line. Use these. Sorry, I wasn't able to text them to you on the phone, but I was talking with a client.
Okay.
John.
Sorry, I was just resting my eyes. It can't be 3 already. What am I going to do?
John, calm down. What's going on here?
I was up late last night working on these projects. I guess I just fell asleep. I can't believe this. I try as hard as I can, but I just can't seem to keep up. I feel like I've only had about 2 hours sleep since I got promoted a month ago. Oh, no, and I still have to call Mr. Fujiyama back.
John, come into my office and we'll discuss this further.
Oh, no, really, I can explain everything, please. I mean, I know you hired me because I'm the guy that gets things done. I still am that guy. I just need some time to say it.
Take a deep breath and come into my office. We need to talk about delegation.
Okay. Poor fella has gotten himself into a pickle, I do believe.
What's up, everybody? Dan Henry here, and in the next 60 seconds, I'm going to show you how this 15-year-old kid is making over $3,000 a month doing local business marketing. Now, what is local business marketing? What's it do?
Get that off the screen. All right, so if you followed along with that, you saw that this fella had been promoted to his job just a couple of months ago because he was the guy who was seen that could get the job done, right? All right. What's his problem now? Perhaps some procrastination? What was it? He wrote one of the lists while he was standing in the Starbucks line? All right. What else do you see might be his problems here?
phone?
Yeah, one of them actually came in and said, I've already put some talking points together for you. And he's like, no, 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 I need to do it myself. So he doesn't trust his subordinates to do the job. He's one of those people that would rather do it himself. What else is going on here? He has taken on so much that he can't even get a good night's sleep. And what did he do? He fell asleep right there at the desk. If you're falling asleep at the desk, something's wrong somewhere. Either you are not happy with your job, or you're not happy at home, or you've got way too much going on. Something is causing you to not be effective, because let's face it, if you're falling asleep, you're not going to be effective for your organization. What else going on with him?
Taking all those 5-hour energy. Coffee.
Looks like he's being pulled in a whole lot of directions. People don't truly understand what's on his plate. People want him to take coffee and have lunch and, answer the phone and communicate with some Mr. Fujiyama or whatever his name was somewhere. And I think he really honestly has so much on his plate that he just doesn't know what direction to go in. Is he accomplishing anything? No, not with all this. All right. Yeah, you're right. That's the kind of thing that would lead you to a heart attack for sure. Talk about stress. He looked stressed to the max when his boss finally said, come in and let's talk about delegation. He didn't even want to take time off to talk about it, did he? Do you think he could learn a few things about delegation, though? Do you think there was actually enough manpower there to probably get the jobs done? I mean, he had all those people that were ready to go to lunch and had the talking points together and all that sort of stuff. All he had to do was say, okay, you are responsible for this. Okay? And then he needs to back away and let them do it. Okay? If you're going to delegate, then you need to not only give somebody the job, but you need to give them the responsibility along with it. Now, that doesn't mean you won't be there for them to consult you. If they would like to get your input, they certainly can. But didn't it look like the one guy that had the talking points, he wanted something to do. He was ready to do something, right? So most of us typically are happier when we are involved in accomplishing an objective rather than just sitting back and watching somebody else do all the work. Okay. What did he grab when he went out? Did he grab one of those 5-hour energy things? Yeah, that was what was getting him through the day. I hate to tell you, but it might keep him awake for a little while, but he's going to crash and burn at some point. Crash and burn at some point for sure. All right. I think even a couple of them were volunteering for things, and he just, no, can't do it. So we as managers need to learn that we can only do so much. If you're a manager of a department, for instance, you cannot do every single job in that department. You have to delegate to others. But along with the delegation, you have to convey that those people are responsible for the jobs that you've given them. Yes, you're going to still be overseeing them, but they also have the authority to get the job done. Okay? Have the authority as well. I thought it was just a super little video of how some of us just take on way too much when if we just followed some of the simple rules that we had, that we learned in basics of any type of managerial class, the organization as a whole would be much better off, not to mention the individual people themselves. He was out to prove something, wasn't he? He was out to prove that he could be good, be the effective manager that they had hired. What he was going to prove to them was that he knew how to use their health insurance benefits. All right, so let me see if I can possibly get back to the PowerPoints, and I think I probably have to open them up first, so let me do that. And get them to the right page. Okay, hopefully you're seeing the delegation slide up there again. And that one is the one that we finished up right before we went to the video. Assign the duties, grant the authority, and create an obligation. All right, here are some more guidelines that would make your delegation effective. Okay, once you have broken that barrier and decided, yes, it's okay for me to delegate some of my jobs, that really more of us doing more jobs is going to be very beneficial for the company. Make sure you give the employees who are doing the jobs their freedom to pursue tasks in their own way. Everybody is not going to do the job exactly the same way as you would. That doesn't mean that what they're doing is wrong. They're just doing it in a different way. You do need to tell them what you're expecting, though, for results and what the performance standards are. Okay? They need to know up front what's going to be expected. Get your employees to get active in defining, implementing, and communicating the progress on those tasks. You don't want to just delegate a job, then walk away without ever checking in to see how things are going. You need to give them the role to also come back and give you updates on the progress. All right, entrust your employees to complete the project. And also show them how what they are doing fits into the overall organization goals. Give them the authority, of course. Give them access to all the information, people, and departments that they need to get the job done. If you need to train them on something, do so. And it makes it very nice if you can possibly delegate based on employee interest, because obviously you're going to do a better job in something you're interested in than something you're not interested in. That's why you'll see many times before managers assign tasks to people, they'll say, is there anybody interested in this? Would you like to take a hold of this project? All right, obstacles, things that are not going to let the delegation process work properly. Clearly the supervisor. That was what was in the video. That the manager to begin with did not want to delegate, so he became an obstacle to his own process. The subordinates can be obstacles. Okay, if they do not understand how what they're doing fits into the organization, or they're just not performing up to expectations, then that could be a problem. And then the organization itself can sometimes be an obstacle. It may be the actual, well, not the chart itself, but how the company is organized might not facilitate communication among departments or among people that are on the same levels or whatever. So it could be that the company is organized so that it's hard for people to accept these responsibilities. This is the last section in this chapter on centralization and decentralization. Those refer to how much a company employs delegation within its organization. And it does seem that a lot of businesses go through phases where they may centralize or they may decentralize. I've been in the same organization at times that went through a period of total centralization, and then they turn right around and decentralize everything. Okay, centralization is a minimum amount of authority delegated to subordinates, meaning everything's being handled by higher up the ladder. They're not delegating much at all. Decentralization is the exact opposite. A maximum amount of authority gets delegated to subordinates. So you find that many companies who have centralized, okay, and I think when I worked for a utility company, they centralized at one point. They had a headquarters. They'd like to do all the work, and they wouldn't spread anything out to the various departments. And after a while, they say, this is not working. We're not actually out there where the decisions need to be made, so we will decentralize. So if you happen to be in an organization that is considering decentralization, you need to first of all look at your present size of your organization, where your customers are located, how homogeneous or similar is the product line in the organization, where are your suppliers, do you need quick decisions, do you need a lot of creativity going on in the organization? There's a lot of things that, what basically that slide is saying is there is no right or wrong here. We're not going to tell you that centralization is good or decentralization is good or vice versa. We're going to say that you really need to judge based on your individual organization, your customers, your decisions that have to be made, your products. Okay, so it may be that at some point in the life of the organization you need to centralize, and at other points you may find that decentralization works better. One thing I think that scares people about decentralization or centralization is it really usually results in developing a new organization chart, different people reporting to folks they may not have reported to before. And whenever you juggle around people's jobs, it gets scary sometimes, especially when it comes to they may have to relocate. Okay? So something that you would want to consider along with whether you're just giving somebody a new job or not. All right, so that is our PowerPoint slides. That is our information on delegation. I hope you will think back to that poor fellow who getting ready to have his heart attack there, and consider again whether you would be willing to delegate or not, since that appeared to be something that some of you thought perhaps would be a tough thing for you to deal with as a manager. Okay? But it can really, really honestly be beneficial for you and for the organization and for the people who work for you. Okay? So again, we have no homework that you need to submit for this particular week. Okay? next week is purely testing, okay? For Keysville, Thursday for South Boston, Tuesday, Keysville people, we're going to try for room 21, but keep your eyes out in case we're somewhere else. Emporia and Christiana folks, let me know which day you want to take the test so that I can make sure that the testing folks are ready to go with you when you do come in. And same setup on the computer. You'll go through Blackboard to get to the test. Okay. Once you enter the test, you may not leave it. It is a 2-hour time limit, but again, I don't think anybody took 2 hours last time. So can have your book, you can have your notes, but no going out to any other websites or to the PowerPoints or anything like that. You got to have all of those there with you. Yes, sir. You do not have to come Tuesday if you're in South Boston. And Keysville people do not have to come to class on Thursday. Okay? So I seem to have, there we go. Let's look at everybody and make sure everybody's in good shape there. Everybody okay? Just wave at me if you think you understand what the deal is for testing next week. Just wave. I know y'all can wave if you're okay. All right, Emporia, I see everybody waving. Good, okay. Don't forget between now and Tuesday what you're doing, though, okay? And I think you probably did find out at the last test that you can't just walk in and take the test. You have got to have yourself organized. You've got to have read through your material. The answers are not always going to just jump at you. You have to use your brain some, okay? All right. Questions from anybody? I promise you I will get the week 3 homeworks, the pros and cons of being a manager one, finished up very quickly, and hopefully get your mission statements done this weekend too, so I'll be caught up with you. I'm getting there on the week 3. I've gotten quite a few. Realize that I have another 23 students in an online class of this too that I'm having to read through as well. So some of you have wonderful writing skills. Some of you have some of the worst skills I've ever seen. One thing I cannot let you do, leave this class, is learn how to spell manager. Okay, it is not manger. Manger is the place where Jesus was born, okay? You're leaving out an A, and I cannot let you out of here by misspelling manager. All right? So get that straight on any of your upcoming homeworks as well. Make sure you're going in when you do see a grade pop up. On your actual submission, I have little comments all through there so you can see where you're having problems. Okay. I will stop the recording if I don't have anything else to do, and I will see some of you Tuesday, some of you Thursday, and some of you just email me with where you are going to take the test and when. Okay? Y'all have a happy Valentine's Day.